Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are together on one of the most auspicious days to be bringing you a live ceremony with one of those that speaks to the ancients and speaks to the land, and not just one, but multiple people with their hearts open in order for you to experience the deeper realms that are only available through your heart. The ancient ones, the ones in Peru, in Egypt, in every indigenous celebrated land, seen and yet undiscovered, know that you can only access the deepest layers of those lands, those possibilities, those dimensions by awakening dimensions within yourself. We were once taught that we only had 5 senses, and now Wikipedia defines at least 22 senses. Those that speak to the mountain, those that speak to those trees, plants, the elementals, know that you have so many more senses. And today we've got Brien Foerster, Washi, both of them we call the crew in Peru. And those of us around the world, we will have the possibility today of experiencing a ceremony from Washi, what you would do on a new moon, what you would do to honor all of the elements alive within you. This is a timeless, ancient practice. Then we're going to dive into deep conversation with both Washi and Brien Foerster, speaking again for Peru, from Peru, inviting us to come in and bring in our voices to activate what can only be activated by you. There is great compassion and love in your heart, and this compassion, this love is curious. And so we've got people from all over the world coming in that may go with us to Peru that are going to ask questions on your behalf, as well as questions that are so meaningful to their hearts. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Washi, will you begin and guide us into this, this ceremony?
I just want to begin this beautiful and blissful connection with all of you by saying that everything what we have heritage today, knowledge, or whatever, it was started many somebody does it, and now we can harvest. We have to continue do that through the future, that it is our present today. So I wanted to just make a little ceremony about the Cochinilla. And I know Brother Brien knows the Cochinilla. The Cochinilla is a little insect, okay? A little insect that lives in the cactus, you see? It's a little round white insect that lives in the cactus. And I put in a piece of paper, I put 3 of them in a little piece of paper so you can participate. In our tradition here, we always use number 3. This number 3 was very powerful. So, for example, let's say underworld, material world, spiritual world. Snake, Puma, Condor, water, wind, fire, love, time, energy. So many things related to number 3. So number 3, Cochinilla, I'm putting in this little paper, and I want to use all of your intentions, all of you. Okay, Brien, Jen, Jill, Amanda, Ron, Darcy, Dr. Sarah Washington, and everyone who is going to be watching and hearing, and the ones who are not too. And we are going to use this little paper, and there is nothing here. Yeah, there's no painting, nothing in this paper. And what we do is, I want you to accompany me to put your best intention. Usually the best intention is three. What do I wish for the world? What do I want for the family? And what do I want for me? And I will use these three cochinillas, and they bless to the east, to the west, to the north, to the south. Yeah. And then I'm going to use my fingers. Look at this. I am putting in this, I'm using my fingers, and then I am just doing my best, putting my best intentions in this little paper. And then once I finished, I'm going to open. Look at what is there. It's a shape. Yeah. This is a look at of what I did of these three little insects, or that live in the cactus. Just by using my fingers and using my best intentions, I create this. Yeah. I know many of you can see so many different figures in it. Yeah, you can connect with totems, with animals. Basically, this is who you are at this moment. Yeah, and as I said before, you keep changing all the time because you get new information, and you are not the same. You're always in constantly change. But here is the work shack or something. Maybe you call it work shack in the States. Yeah, this is. Remember, our ancestors, they didn't have doctors, no psychologists like we have today. They were called different. And if somebody was feeling something, and they wanna find out what is happening, they might do this and just interpret what is the figures. And this is the cochineal. And maybe if we have time, we can do for each of you later, and we can see everyone's figure. So I want you, we are going to do a little closing eyes for 2 seconds again, and just breathe, breathe very deeply, and just breathe and bring and be open to everything, to every opportunity, to every healing. Just be open. And breathe very deeply. Just take that breath into your heart, into your mind, and just feel that connection. Feel the spirit. Feel yourself. Start love in yourself. Start time in yourself. Start energy on yourself. Just breathe and open, like you can fly like an eagle, like a condor in different directions. And you can fly really, really high like the ancient spirit, and just feel and breathe. Breathe. Tahe, taho, etona, ha etona, ha etona, ha etona we. Awe, aetonawe, awe, aetonawe. Pachamama taitainti wirakocha. Bring healings to our sisters and brothers who are your children, and make them safe, happy, and wise, so they can convert every problem in opportunity to make the world a better place. Breathe very deeply, and take that breath into your heart, into your mind. Just feel the ancestors. Feel the ancestors coming to you and just supporting you. And welcome the ancient teachings, the ancient wisdom. Spirits of the East, spirits of the West, spirits of the heart, spirits of the mind, spirits of the South, spirits of the North. Heal brother, sisters from in mankind. Just heal their hearts, heal their minds so they can unite. Like according to the prophecy, when the eagle and the condor are going to fly together, there is going to be peace in this world. And where hearts and our minds will connect in one heart, loving each other, helping each other, supporting each other, just flying together into different continents, in communities, homes, individuals. Just bring them together and feel their spirit. Feel the connection and breathe very deeply, like Pachamama is breathing at this time, like Wiracocha, like Wakantonka, like every spirit that is flying through the valley. And this beautiful sacred mother, the water that is running on the sacred river and is running into the Amazon and becomes the Amazon, the biggest river in the world, and share that water with our brothers and sisters in Africa, in all continents that needs water. Just sacred mother, sacred water, sacred Andes, 70% of the Andes, of the snow here in Peru. Feel that connection. Continue farming the crops, the superfoods to nourish our brothers and sisters and feel that connection. Feel the spirit and just breathe very deeply, very deeply. Apu taita inti, apu wirakocha, apu pachamama, apu hapu hapu, apu taita inti, apu wirakocha. Breathe very deeply. Your hands are medicine. Connect to the snake, the puma, and the condor. The condor that flies the highest in the world, the biggest bird in the Americas that flies the highest in the world. The puma that keeps everything in balance. The snake that represents wisdom, knowledge, water. Just feel and breathe very deeply. Breathe very deeply. open your eyes, feel the power of our eagles and our condors flying with us. Pachamama is really happy. I see, I feel that. The wind is singing for us at this moment when we are meeting. We're for a beautiful purpose, to unite, to have brothers and sisters traveling to the south, to reconnect with their ancestors, to feel that power, that energy, to recuperate the time that has been lost, to make it meaningful, to observe, to love, to fly, to feel, to have hope, to have energy, to unite. Heal, brothers and sisters, your heart, your mind. Okay. Cóndor, cóndor, cóndor. Cóndor, cóndor, cóndor. Águila del norte, cóndor del sur. Lleva, lleva el corazón. Cura, cura la mente del hombre. Cura, cura Pachamama. Cura, cura Taita Inti. El águila del norte, el cóndor del sur. El águila del norte, el cóndor del sur. Healings and energy for all of you. Keep smiling, keep opening, keep healing. Sacred wood, Palo Santo. Palo Santo. Heal. Okay, thank you everybody for those minutes of just on incredible healings and energy that we can experience, everyone in our site with our own intentions, with our own ways. So sending you all healings.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What an incredible experience it is to have this ceremony with you from Peru, with the conch shell, and what you so shared so beautifully, what Palo Santo does. And the conch shell opens all of our chakras, and so beautifully the Palo Santo awakens the deeper compassion available within us. Everything is energy, and thank you for sharing yours. That was delightful to experience together. Thank you, thank you. Brien Foerster, we have you here with us, and we're so grateful that again you've opened up your schedule. Washi, and you both in Peru. During this time of new moon, of the shifting energies, what have you learned? What have you seen in the on the lands with the people? What does this time mean throughout all time. In other words, and this could be answered by both of you guys, in other words, the new moon and these ceremonies, the ancient ones, how would they be today? What would their voices and their words be sharing to the land that they're on? Brien, if you will take that.
Sure. Well, I would say that they would ask us to be thankful every day for what the land here produces for us, because as Washi knows, we're very fortunate in that Peru is self-sufficient in terms of food. So, and everything is in a season. At the moment, we're at the tail end of the blueberry season and in the middle of the watermelon season. And so when we go shopping to the local mercado, we're able to get food that comes from a maximum of about 20 miles away. So that's something to be very thankful for, that the land nurtures us today and has, in this area on the coast, has been nurturing the people for at least 3,000 years. So the water supply, which the ancient Paracas people understood, travels underground. And so they were a very clever people in one of the most desolate landscapes in the world. This is the driest desert in the world, called the Atacama. And so somehow the Paracas were able to figure out how to access the underground streams that still travel to this very day to nurture us, and has been the case for at least 3,000 years. So that's what I would say their biggest lesson is just to be grateful for the local abundance, which has been sustaining people for generation upon generation upon generation. And also where Washi lives in the Sacred Valley area is also incredibly productive in terms of agriculture. It's a little more seasonal there than on the coast, but depends what time of year you go to the area of Cusco in the Sacred Valley. But in general, you'll see everything under production as it has been for thousands of years. You have originally at least 5,000 varieties of potatoes and hundreds of varieties of corn and quinoa and kiwicha. And some people will look around and they'll say, oh, those are lots of weeds. And nothing in the highlands of Peru is a weed. It's all medicinal. It's all been nurtured through the brilliance, especially of the Inca people, in terms of being able to identify and cross-pollinate different kinds of plants to produce astonishing levels of herbal medicines.
Herbal medicines. It's so beautiful to start with the herbal medicines that the ancient ones had, the seeds. A 2,000-year-old seed can still be planted in the ground and generate. Washi, something that is really, really important to me is, how do we activate the deeper levels of understanding? And Brien, I'll come to you with this question as well. How do you activate? Someone comes from somewhere in the world and they come to Peru and they are in your hands, in your community, with the people that you have learned from. I'm excited to meet Felix, as Washi told us last time, and Brien, all of the teachers that you brought. What is the direction that you start with, Washi, for that seed that's been inside, the compassion seed, the love seed, the living, active part of the heart? That what do you say to them to bring that seed forward?
First of all, I agree with Brother Brien, and we have to be grateful every day for where we live and what we have. Is very, very important. Our brothers and sisters who live in the Andes, naturally, they live that way. They live the ancient ways, especially when you go in the mountains. And I have to tell you, there is not just 25 senses. There is 100. You know, according to our masters here in the valley, like Brother Vidal, who lives right here in Ollantaytambo, who is a master healer, he always taught us since we were child that the ancient people used it like close to 100 senses. You know, we lost so many, you know, huge percentage of it. Now we use just 5 of them, you know, that we know of. But if imagine just using 20, 30, 100 senses, you know, what you will be able to do. You know, that's incredible. Um, and one thing important, as brother was talking about, you know, people, our brothers and sisters, you don't have to activate anything. They have it naturally. You know, it's natural in their daily life. Whenever they see a light in the sky that is weird, sometimes they say it, this is natural. We experience this all the time. We are the producer of the potatoes. We have, as brother was saying, we have 10,000 varieties of potatoes. Why I tell you this? Because one time I had the opportunity to be the guide of one scientist of potato from South Korea. And there were more than 130 scientists of potato from all over the world, you know, in Cusco. And I had the opportunity to guide one of them. And I was explaining to them because at the school, I was taught that there was 3,000 varieties of potatoes. And I was telling him, you know, we have 3,000 varieties of potato. And he said, no, we found 10,000 varieties of potatoes, you know, and you know, potatoes have saved the world. After the Second World War II, Peru sent potato seeds to Europe so they can grow them and feed the people. You know, and actually I am farming potato. I am doing self-sustainable farming in the Andes. Now this is becoming big again because of this emergency. You know, people are going back to the countryside, farming more potatoes, you know, and we are working on projects, you know, of supporting the people, clear their land, you know, and taking out the bushes, the stones, and now farming. And thanks to the rain, that is a beautiful partnership. Now the potatoes are growing like incredible in the Andes. So this is very beautiful. And I have to tell you that our brothers and sisters living in the Andes, you don't have to activate, you know, anything. They just act naturally because that's the life, you know, they are into it. You know, people like us coming down here to the Andes, we have to activate that. We have to find our purpose, find our mission, find our connection with our ancestors. And this is going to happen if you know, prepare yourself, if you are ready for this beautiful change that it might change your life forever. Whoever who have been to many countries in this world, I'm sure you have been to so many. In each of those places you have found special things, you know, that stays with you forever. And if you combine all of them, I think that's the answer, you know, of your question. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Such an important, my grandmother, and later in traveling to Egypt, I learned we had 360 senses and possibly 365, one for each day of the year, because when our hearts are aligned with the cosmos and aligned with the earth, a new sense is available that day, and higher levels of that sense every year as we cycle around the sun and as we rotate throughout the day, peak experiences. It's such a gift to be able to speak with and get the mysteries, the great mysteries answered. Brien, I'm so excited for you to share. Peru called you. Peru whispered in your ear. I'm adding drama to the whispering of Peru that happened in your ear, right? I'm going to say it said, come to me, be here now, bring your whole physical self into this location. As you arrived, and that it was, your journey to Peru that really allowed that next layer? What have you been discovering about yourself, about our senses, right? The deeper senses that are available for us. And anything that you want to, you both speak so beautifully to one another. Anything that you want to highlight about what Washi shared or what the previous question was. Love to hear you answer and connect. And thank you again for being with us. Your wisdom and your depth of research really makes a difference. It makes possible for our energy brain and our analytical brain to have a connection to the next level. Washi brings so much of the energy and that aspect of communication, and you bring the left brain, the analytical analysis. You give words to that in such a beautiful way. So I'd love for you to just take the conversation next, and then we'll have Dr. Amanda chime in.
Sure. Well, it's like what Washi was saying. The people of the native people of the Andes, which are of course the great majority, they are still so incredibly connected to the land. That's why it's wonderful that you don't have major commercial farming in the highlands of Peru. You have family farms, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of them, just little plots that dot and connect, and family members live very close to one another. So when this whole global problem began to happen, it's like what he said, people who lost their job. I know that happened to a lot of people in Lima. They had no choice because they lost their job, that they went back to their homeland, which was quite often back to the highlands. At first the government didn't allow them to do that, but they started to walk towards places like Cusco. And finally the government had to let them go ahead because they were going back to their Chakra, which is an Inca word, which means the farm. So that's the wonderful thing. Even all of the people, or many of the people who live in Lima, who were originally from the highlands of Peru, had a home they could go back to and return to the concept of being self-reliant through their connection with the land. Also, another wonderful thing is, for quite a long time, there's been a process of trying to eradicate a lot of the rare varieties of some of the native foods. It seems like the Sacred Valley of Peru there was an attempt to turn it into a monoculture of solely one kind of corn. And so over the process of time, there've been a lot of local people, including my teacher, Dr. Teo Paredes, who has gone on purpose to different villages and has found varieties of quinoa, which is a very small nutritious seed that most people thought had gone extinct. But he would find, like in one village, he would find one or two varieties of that. And so what he did is that he asked the local people to concentrate on some degree to growing that crop again. And so once they had a harvest, then he would take the seed to neighboring villages and give it to them and say, will you please plant this? Because this is bringing back the nutrition of your people. The Inca, during Inca times, the diet was incredibly diverse. And through colonization, it was reduced heavily down to eating mainly starch products. So thankfully, the superfoods like quinoa and caoutchouc are coming back and are very popular internationally. There's a huge demand for them now. I recently found out that actually Peru is the world's greatest producer of blueberries for some reason. I learned that this morning. But yeah, it's not the people's dependence on the land, it's the people's incredible relationship with their land that's gone from generation to generation, which has brought benefit to them, especially during this latest hardship.
This latest hardship. I love that our blueberries here are just so so beautiful around the world. Thank you for sharing that. And we have with us Dr. Amanda Chance, a incredible healer as well as retreat leader. She designed this retreat and designed our meeting, Washi and Brien Foerster. Dr. Amanda, anything that you want to ask and share?
I just wanted to kind of highlight that the eagles of the North, we're learning so much from the condors of the South because, as Washi said, that's such an important part. Just being able to connect with nature, So during this whole kind of challenging time that we've all had to readjust, rebuild our relationship to our bodies, our own personal earth, and cultivate it in different ways. So, the new year, everyone wants to exercise, everyone, would normally join a gym. But we're having to develop new methods of cultivating our own personal earth. So what I mean by that is that, we're having to find ways to exercise at home. We're having to find ways to do what we need to do, be self-sufficient, again, like Washi was saying, but in a different way. And so whether or not, we're committed to doing push-ups to strengthen our upper body, doing squats to strengthen our lower body, it's the same thing. It's the same concept of cultivating what we already have so that we can be stronger. So I just kind of wanted to point that out a little bit.
So to be stronger, so beautiful. Dr. Amanda, you are leading this trip and you've generated this for the beauty of being able to bring people to the sacral chakra. You're doing this for Earth and also for those that are drawn to be of service, to carry the activated sacral chakra back home. But can you describe the trip that's coming up just briefly? The journey that we're taking. I signed up to go on the journey, so I am on the journey with you guys. Can you share with us what that is?
Sure, in one word, amazing. There's a lot of, again, coming out of 2020, right? Just starting there. We spoke about this a little bit last time, how there was a lot of root chakra issues that we're all dealing with. We're all dealing with having the challenges of maybe lost income, lost family members, just losses on so many levels, loss of identity. And so with all of these losses come emotional challenges, right? So that's the next part. We experience it. You go through the physical parts of it, and you kind of try to get through it. But then after that period, now we're all enveloped in this emotional aspect. And so I feel that the sacral chakra going to Peru is going to help us in a way to express those feelings in a more positive way. It's very important to be able to feel something, but it's more important to express it with constructive, in a constructive manner, as opposed to a destructive manner. And so, we're all going through this, we're all feeling it. And I think that, as we gather together, and the more of us that, pour energies into this, into cultivating our higher selves, cultivating this belief, this willingness to actually be constructive with whatever feelings we have, the more we activate all of those things that our ancestors have told us along the way. So, again, they're reaching out to us, they're telling us, that, through prophecy, that this is the time we are going to connect. We are going to go through these challenges. There's prophecies, not just, from South America, but all over the world, that are saying, these are the signs of, the times that, things need to happen now. And as we walk in those prophecies, we're seeing that, just coming together, being together, being, you know, just one with each other, that's ultimately what's going to get us all on the planet to where we need to be. So
to where we need to be. So May 12th is the beginning of the journey to Peru. So to be able to be on that journey, you simply reach out to Dr. Amanda Chance, and then you are connected. It is a very tiny group. We've got room for about 12 people to be able to go on this journey. And it's filling up. So if this is something that you're interested in, make sure you connect with Dr. Amanda Chance to be able to see if you're right for this trip, if your chakra system, if you're ready to have your internal emotions be upgraded with the prophecies that my grandmother, our grandmothers, our great-great-grandmothers were all speaking of, that there would come a time, a knowing, a hope, a faith, an understanding of that. And with that, Jennifer, I'd love for you to chime in here and ask and connect anything that you want to bring or share.
Yes, thank you. I just sort of wanted to touch on something that I think really relates to what all of you were just talking about. But in terms of sort of connecting with, you know, our ancient ancestors and to their medicine, and connecting with all of these hundreds or thousands of senses that we have within us that we've sort of forgot about over time, I really think that it's just so important to be open and willing and ready to receive that information, which I think is sort of something that's opening up to us a little bit more as a collective, as we've been, you know, sort of forced to detract a little bit from a lot of the distractions that we've had in our lives for so long. And so I do think that that's one of the gifts that we've been given over this past year, is to sort of slow down and, you know, back away from some of the distractions that we have so much of. And I think that, you know, tapping into sounds and music, like the beautiful sounds that Washi was giving to us this morning, as well as just, excuse me, energetic vibrations and the resonances, and sort of being open into feeling that, like not even just hearing it, but feeling it within your body, is just so incredibly powerful. And I know for me, like it sort of makes me feel like I'm remembering things, or I'm tapping into things that I haven't really necessarily tapped into yet, but that I know are there and that I know exist. And I truly believe that our ancient ancestors, you know, they knew that and they believed in that. And that's why they created the structures that they created, because they knew how energy resonates in those structures, and they knew how sound can carry in that structure. And so I think, especially if you're able to visit these places and really just be in these places and experience just the sounds, the music, the sound healing, or even just the energy resonance of these places, we're able to tap into all of these senses that we have not really been connecting to lately. And just in that, even just connecting with those resonances, we get so much wisdom. We're able to get downloads that are just like beyond our imagination. And so I just think it's really incredible that, you know, Peru and so many places in the world are offering that experience to us, that's been given to us through our ancient ancestors. So yeah. It's just a beautiful way for us to reconnect with ourselves and reconnect with our ancient wisdom and reconnect with the world, and be able to share that to continue to heal the world so that we can create a better world for all of us.
To continue to create a better world for all of us. It's so beautiful. That Brien, I'd love for you to take the conversation from here. You've led many retreats, large and individual, and you've gone out and met everyone. It's so beautiful. Would you take the conversation from here with your senses being awakened, and with the next layer of what Jen just shared there, the next layer of understanding?
Well, sure. Like you said, my first trip to Peru was because I woke up one morning and a voice said Peru in my ear, I think 4 times. And so I didn't bother doing any research before I went. I felt compelled to go. First day that I was in Cusco, I had a local guide walk me around the old Inca part of the city, which is the core. And it was the megalithic architecture that just absolutely astonished me. I hadn't actually looked at photographs before I went of what these constructions were like, but being there in person, I was in complete shock because having somewhat of a background in on some levels of construction, I just looked at these things and said, how would anybody achieve this? And as Washi confirmed, and as many others have confirmed, the history of Cusco goes back several thousand years. It wasn't founded by the Inca from nothing, or that they found a few tribal people living in huts in Cusco. They found an abandoned city that was a megalithic construction, and we see proof of that in terms of the damage to the structures. You see earthquake damage, you see in some cases vitrification where the surface of the stone has melted. That would require an astonishing external force to do that. Then of course you had all of the deconstruction done during the time of the conquistadors and other Spanish people. But that's what really set my head on upside down, was just seeing these works that many of which we would not be able to achieve in the 21st century. It's just, and trying to figure out the logic of how it was done is another major question, because it wasn't done according to Western logic. It was done, some people say they did it that way because they found it easy, but in some of these walls, these megalithic walls, every stone is a different shape and size, which is not a logical way of approaching construction, but they were able to achieve it. And, most people will say the reason why the stones fit together so incredibly tightly without any mortar or gaps at all was for earthquake proofing, but in fact, it was most likely done for resonance. They were naturally earthquake proof because they were built so incredibly well, but I think the function of them was so that the structure, like the Coricancha is the classic structure in the center of Cusco, it was meant to vibrate as if it was a single stone. So that gives us an indication that it's vibration and acoustics that were part of the construction and function of these ancient structures, which the Inca structures wouldn't do because they were made up of clay mortar and different types of stones. You don't get resonance that way, but if everything fits together perfectly well, then you have a resonant structure. And there are so many mysteries too, the stories of tunnels underneath the city of Cusco. And again, my teacher, Teo Paredes, when I first met him, he and I did a documentary together. And the first question I asked him is, I said, is Inca older than, or is Cusco older than the Inca? And he said, of course it is. There's a whole city that was constructed underground and all these different tunnels. I've had access to certain aspects of that, but Cusco is possibly the most complex city on the planet. And that's why it's been my joy for all of these years to live in Peru, because there's so much that this little country has to offer, like anyone, no matter where you come from, anywhere in the world. There is something for you to learn, and that's also what my teacher Wilco says when we have our grounding ceremony. When everyone first gets together, he says, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what languages you speak, it doesn't matter your ethnicity. You've come here for a reason, and the doors will open to you because your heart is open to it. And the ancestors want to teach you what it is you come to learn, to take that back with you and teach other people.
Teach other people. That's so beautiful. And I just want to touch on Machu Picchu was built so long ago with no mortar used to hold it together, the stones, and it sits up on a mountain on an earthquake fault. And the city, the 500 stone buildings are still standing today, located 50 miles from, I think, Brien, you said Cusco, right? Cusco is the correct pronunciation. It's located 50 miles from Cusco or Cusco. It measures an incredible 116 square miles in the Peruvian Andes, and it's nearly 8,000 feet above sea level. And so, Washi, I'd love for you to take the conversation from there, from what Brien just shared. Thank you so much. It's so beautiful to hear this incredible wisdom and to really connect it to the ancient names for those megalithic stones for these places, and then to build on that wisdom. Washi, anything that you want to add to this conversation?
Whoever was born in the Americas, doesn't matter you are white, blue, red, you hold the spirit, the energy, the wisdom, the love of the Indians. And this is from Alaska to Patagonia, because we are all brothers and sisters. You are right, brother Brien, because Cusco at some point was underwater. Cusco was a big lake, Lake Morky. Okay, and Sacsayhuaman, there is a tower where this tower was like built in this shape, really tall. I guess it was about 100 feet tall tower, from where you could see the whole city of Cusco. And we call it, that specific tower, the Eye of the Puma, because Cusco was built in the shape of the Puma. Okay, and the Eye of the Puma is Sacsayhuaman, this incredible site. And Cusco and the ancient people, whoever built these structures, they build it because they are going to last for thousands of years. And they are already there for thousands of years. Yeah, and we remember when the Spaniards came here, 1650, earthquake happened. They were already here. The whole city that they built, it was destroyed. But no one stone of the Incas or the ancestors. 1950, the same thing. Another big earthquake happened every 300 years. All the city was destroyed. But no one stone of the ancient people, the Incas or the ancient people. It's very interesting to know that. And you are right also when you talk about, Sarah, about the distraction. Yes, we could be able to use many more senses, and we got distracted, and if we could just focus and unite, maybe we can get back to those ancient ways. It's very important that, we fly together, the eagles and the condors, as you were talking about, because I was taught by our spirit, by our brothers and sisters, and many beautiful native people who already gone, but they pass along their knowledge and wisdom. They have told me that our ancestors, whoever we are talking about here, they didn't have to talk in order to communicate. They just see you in the eye, and they will know who you are. What are your intentions? To work together. They didn't have to even build paths or trails to walk. They could fly. If you could be able to use more than the 5 senses we are using today, maybe we can do that. We can fly. We don't have to talk to communicate. We just can feel and feel that. And that's the mission of the condor and the eagle, because they fly really high. And imagine when you are in a plane, in an airplane, what do you see? Just dots of lights, you know, small everything. That's how we should see it. The broad.
That's how we should see it, the brunt. It's so, so beautiful again.
Broad, big.
The
Broad.
big, right, the bold, the fullest view, the blunt, the biggest view, to be able to see our Washi in one of our earlier interviews, and I highly recommend you go visit Brian Foerster's channel and watch his works there, that you go and you find, we've made other videos with Washi, and to find those, it's so incredible that our ancestors knew. It's so funny. Malika Chopra, Deepak Chopra's daughter, once shared this story. I've shared the stage with her, and it's such a gift to be able. I was not born in the United States. I was born in the great continent of India, and I'm carrying the energy, the shaman wisdom of my grandmother, who taught me not to turn off my senses. I didn't speak until I was about 3 years old, 4 years old. I don't have a birth certificate until I came to the United States. She said that I started speaking in full sentences, sharing about the light, and knowing what she knew, these higher senses available to all of us. It's when we don't turn off the inner receptors. I want to say what I just said there another way. We've got within us rods and cones in our eyes. We know that we only see 1% of the visible spectrum consciously until we begin to do deeper work to activate receptors within us. When there is a rainbow in the sky, it's not only created in us because we have the nourishment, nutrition, and understanding of our rods and cones, we co-create it by being able to see it and acknowledge the different colors and acknowledge the different vibrations, frequencies, and hertz that are working there. And so when Deepak Chopra's daughter shared, she shared the story. She said, I remember my dad saying, "What's your favorite way to travel? How do you love to get to places?" And she was standing next to their family car, and she kicked the tire. She was maybe 3, 4 years old in the story, and she says, "It's to travel this way is so clumsy. I loved flying. I love being able to fly." And if you're preparing to go to Peru or on any sacred journey, at night, before you go to bed, send your consciousness, send your mind's eye to that region, send it to Peru if you're coming with us to Peru. Allow your body, as it's resting, to acclimate to the lands that you're about to travel to. And everything in those lands, the ancestors, everyone there will be able to accommodate your spiritual journey as well as your mental, emotional, and physical bodies. When we rest, and Brian, Washi, I'd love for you to talk to us about dream time and about, I'm going to put it in, meditation or lucid dreaming. When we actively, purposefully use our consciousness to link up with others, when we use it to be able to travel to these places where, Brian, I'd love for you to take this first. This inner voice that spoke to you, or this voice that spoke to you that got you to Peru. And then now that you're in Peru and experiencing all of this alignment, how do you use your dream time or your meditation time or this lucid dreaming nighttime for your work?
Honestly, I don't. I haven't had dreams for many years. I'm so focused on the hours of being awake and conscious that by the end of the evening, every day I'm exhausted on every level because I was once described as having antenna all over my body. So I've always had a tendency of picking up information um, from many different aspects. So that's just how I've lived my life, and especially since I came to Peru, I focus so much when I'm in these sacred places on every level of endeavor, of probing, um, that I do, yeah, I do get very filled up by the end of each day, and that's how my existence works.
That's how your existence works. Beautiful. Washi, I'd love for you to share and just take the conversation from here. And then Gail had a question, which is, Gail asked, friends of mine who've been to Peru recommend to stay in Cusco, or I love saying Cusco now and correcting myself based on Brien's share, for a month before visiting Machu Picchu. Firstly, to I think that's to acclimatize, but also to attend a Spanish school. They say that there is much to see in Cusco during that month. And Washington and Brien, do you agree? So I was attempting to answer that question as well as have you guys answer that as well.
Well, I want to just send information to all our beautiful travelers. Welcome. Ñaba ñaba do, we are going to be in Peru again. And I want to tell you, there is Machu Picchu is an incredible place, and every time I went, I don't know, 200-300 times or more, it's just the energy is just exquisite. It's unique. You never get bored. You never. It's different all the time. Machu Picchu is just unique. But it's not just Machu Picchu, it's the mountains. Just imagine, it's about, let's just use some numbers. Let's say Machu Picchu is like 30% of the energy, the beauty, but what surrounds is the mountains, the mountains, and what is out there without being discovered. Because last year, they found new ruins or ancient sites just in front of Machu Picchu with fountains, terraces, homes, those kind of things. There are 360 sites approximately in this area. And every year, our native brothers and sisters who are taking care of their sheep or cattle, they keep finding more sites. And this is not it. There is so much more to see and to discover. Recently, one gentleman who came from Spain, he made like excursions to one mountain to find the Hatum Vilcabamba, and they found it after 18 years of exploration. And they just cleared about 58 buildings in that area, and that's supposed to be the last capital city of the Incan after the Spanish invasion, and Vilcabamba until 1572. And there are so much to discover, and we are the ones using our intuition that we have to find the places. Many of you, Dr. Sharon, for example, she found like new places by intuitions, in the mountains. And one day I was in a community named Kelkanka in these mountains where there are native families, 100%. And there wasn't any road. We walked because we were going to deliver hot chocolatada for the children in Christmas. I know Christmas, it's not, their initiative, but kids are kids. And we went down, and we said, one of the gentlemen said, let's go to this forest and let's fish. And we went, we got lost, and then we ended up in circles, like sites, sites that native people know about them. So there are so much to discover, and it is true, you have to be prepared. If you come to Peru, you prepare yourself. And my biggest recommendation is going to be, when you come to Cusco, I think the best thing to do is to go first to the valley, to the Sacral Valley. Because the Sacral Valley is about 8,000 feet. Cusco is about 10,500 feet. So there's a chance you can get high altitude, this little thing. But we have coca leaves, we coca tea all over, so for everyone. So
I'm
it
sorry.
is very, no.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought it was your internet. Keep going, please.
It was there. No, I think it was a message came on the screen. I was trying to read. Well, they have to prepare themselves at home when you come, just connected to the place, because wherever you go, you already been there. So you need just to be focused and connect, and just meditate every morning 5 minutes, just to connect with the place, as you were referring before, and just to connect to the place. And that way you will find the place familiar. And you, even when you are going to be here, you're going to see that this is not the first time you are here. You were many times in this land, and it's very important. Always prepare, learn about the place you are going to. We can start sharing some information about about words that you have to know in order to talk to people, especially to the children that are so beautiful in the Andes. I'm not saying your children are not beautiful, but our children are beautiful here. They always smile. They're like smiling all the time. So I think we have to be prepared always. It's very important.
It's very important to always be prepared. And I think what a beautiful question, Gail. Again, that Washi was answering the question of whether you need to be there in advance. And Washi said, you've already been here. You've already experienced it. It is you are returning home. The language and the words and the doorways and the tunnels and everything you will have access to as you allow your beliefs to drop away, of the time continuum to drop away. I believe Washi had a conversation in our previous videos. He shared, in Peru, we don't think in 20 years, 10 years, birthdays. We think in lifetimes and hundreds of lifetimes. And all of the places have been built so that when you come to visit again in this lifetime, you can build upon what you had previously built in previous lifetimes. So there is, for Peru especially, the creative chakra of the world, the sacral chakra, this ability to return to your most creative self. And that most creative self creates for all humanity, for all of you, for all journeys that you interdimensional being that you are journeying on. It's so beautiful. And I think Amanda had a question here again about connection and disconnection. I want to just reset you were listening to Washi and Brien Foerster in Peru. Today, we are especially honoring the new moon. We began with the new moon ceremony. And if you are just joining us now, I highly recommend when you get a chance, especially today, no matter when you're watching this, to allow the lands and the energy of Peru to be awakened within you. Go back to the beginning of the video, receive the conch shell, the Palo Santo, the fullest activation for yourself. And then to go in and listen to this conversation with the incredible Brien Foerster, 37 books, so many documentaries, so much love for the land of Peru that he moved himself, his wife, and all of his work to come from that region. Washi, who has been trained and connected with Dr. Sharon Forrest, just such a beautiful humanitarian philanthropist. She introduced Dr. Amanda Chance to Washi, and Washi speaks for many languages, has been taught by both Brien and Washi, taught by the indigenous, the secret languages, the intelligence of how to open the doorways. They've had access to the tunnels and the towers and to the elementals that are available in Peru to activate the chakra, the second sacral chakra, and all of the chakral systems within you. Brien, anything that you want to add to this conversation that we're having right now? Anything that Washi said, or even the language, knowing the original names of these lands to open the doorways, to open the lands up? Anything you want to add about that?
Sure. Well, with the concept of adapting, when you fly from Lima to Cusco, you're going from sea level to about 11 or 12,000 feet in 1 hour. So obviously it takes time for the body to adapt. Most people are okay after about 24 to 48 hours. The most important thing is to drink lots of water and coca tea. And a lot of people are under the illusion that Machu Picchu is on top of a mountain outside of Cusco, which is, people get that idea. They go, oh, I'm in Cusco, Machu Picchu has to be up there, but it's not. From Cusco, you descend about 2,000 feet into the Sacred Valley, which is where Ollantaytambo is. And then from there, you get on the train and you go down another 2,000 feet to Aguas Calientes, which is the little town. And then from there, you take a bus and you go up about 1,000 feet to the citadel itself. So you're actually going down a fair way. In terms of adaptation, it's more comfortable for people when they first arrive to stay, like what Washi said, is to stay in the Sacred Valley, because it's easier to adapt when you're 2,000 feet lower than in Cusco itself. And in terms of the original place names, that's something gifted to me by especially my friend and teacher Wilco, and also Dr. Teo Paredes. Both of them learned to speak the Inca language when they were children, at the same time and same pace that they were learning Spanish. So that's very, they're very blessed in that way. Actually, almost every cab driver in Cusco still speaks the Inca, the Inca language that a lot of people call Quechua. So if you're in a taxi and if you want to ask your taxi driver, what's the original name of this, then quite often they'll know. One site I don't think that's in this coming tour, which is one of my absolute favorites, is a little megalithic construction in a cave in a side valley of the Sacred Valley. A German photographer, our German guy, sent me 2 photographs of it. And I was just like, I looked at it and said, I wrote back to him and said, where's that? And he said, you have to find it. So that took 2 years for me to find this place. And once we found it, the standard name is Ñaupa Iglesia. But the problem with that name is that Ñaupa is an ancient Inca word. Iglesia is Spanish. So I thought, well, that's, it's kind of strange that they would name an ancient place name half Inca and half Spanish. So my friend Wilco said the original name should probably be Ñaupa Huaca, because Huaca means sacred place, and Ñaupa is ancient, but it's also describes supposedly ancient people or beings that once lived in this cave. So that's one example of bringing the place name back to what it should be compared to what it has been called for a long time. And like what I mentioned before, Sacsayhuaman probably isn't the original name. It's likely, according to Dr. Teo, Sacsayhuma or Sachuma. So those are two examples, but there's so many places, in and around Cusco that are fascinating. The one thing that many people may not know is that when the Inca were expanding their confederation of states, most people are under the illusion that the Inca had an empire, whereas empire is a European term of conquest. And it's more probable that the Inca were able to envelop other people and other nations through diplomacy, because diplomacy is a more intelligent way of absorbing other people than whacking them over the head. So it seems that the Inca in general used diplomacy as much as possible, and also espoused the advantages that these people would get. They would get infrastructure because the Inca had an Army Corps of Engineers that would move in and develop the ancient road systems. So that way the people in the north could move their trade goods anywhere in the Inca world. And it was a 25,000 mile system of roads and trails. So I think that's an important point. I honestly, I don't like the term the Inca Empire. Roman Empire makes sense, or the Greek Empire makes sense, because they were conquesting people. But the local people tell me that the Inca were not great conquerors. They were those that wished to have a confederation of participation and just, sorry, a little bit more. And so when the Inca would move in and absorb another people, they would rename those places because they wanted to have one consistent language through the entire Inca world. So that's why Runasimi, or the Quechua language, had to be taught to all of the officials throughout the entire system, so they didn't have to have translators, because that would be very complicated when you had so many different nations. So that's one thing that the Inca kind of insisted. And so they would rename places after and use Inca words, and an Inca name was a description of the place. So that's why Cusco or Cusco is the name of only one. There's only one place that's called that, because it describes almost on a telepathic level where that place is. Once you've been to Cusco and you hear it's called Cusco, which means the navel, then automatically you identify that with the name. Or like Ollantaytambo, well, anyway, on and on it goes. But that's what the Inca did as a way of harmonizing their world. Also, there's a misconception that that the Inca had 3 laws, and that the laws were don't lie, don't cheat, and don't be lazy. But the Inca were a very positive people. So that's a very negative connotation to say, don't lie, don't cheat, don't be lazy. That's saying bad, bad, bad. The Inca way was the complete opposite. It was be loving, be prosperous, be honest. Those are positive things. They always nurtured the positive out of people. And like what Washi was saying, the sacred number to a lot of Native American people is 4, because you have the 4 directions, the 4 winds. To the Inca, it was 3, which makes them kind of different. So you have the lower world, the middle world, the upper world, you know, on and on. Anyway, I guess I've talked too much.
Oh, we love hearing you. And so I think for your audience here, you can never talk too much. Same thing with Washi. Washi, we'd love for you to take the conversation from here. And yes, the 3, the 4, and even the trapezoid shape of the doors that are available as we enter all of these sacred sites. Washi, I'd love for you to take the conversation from here.
Well, Runasimi is the language that our ancestors spoke, and it's not Quechua. Quechua, we refer to our certain level in the Andes, between 3,000 and 3,500 meters above sea level, the Quechua region. But the language will be Runasimi, means human language. And in the itinerary, and one of the ceremonies that we are going to be performing, and we are going to, we're going to share here, is going to be in Ñaupa Iglesia. Actually, it's one of the points. We already, I think we already talked about. Ñaupa Iglesia is just very close. Where I am right now, this moment, Ñaupa Iglesia is walking 30 minutes from here. Yeah, it's an incredible place, but the structure, once again, it doesn't relate to the Inca time. Relates to thousands of years, because it's kind of extraterrestrial. You are going to find there the Southern Cross, like the Southern Cross, or we call it in Spanish La Cruz del Sur, because you got to know that in the sky, in the Milky Way, we have 4 stars, like a kite shape. And we call it in the Andes the La Cruz Andina, or the Southern Cross. A lot of the knowledge, the wisdom, and everything that exists in the Andes was inspired because of those 4 stars. Okay, very, very important, very sacred to know that. Okay, all the Milky Way is the Milky Way. We copy it. I gotta say we, because I descend from my ancestors. We copy it along the valley. Again, Machu Picchu, for example, is supposed to be in the shape of a condor, no? And they said that they copy from the sky. Ollantaytambo, yes, it has the shape of the llama, that in June 21st, the sun comes out from the eye of an Inca, carving, and touch the eye of the llama and awakes the llama of Ollantaytambo. And now that night, which is June 21st, which is an incredible day in the Andes, because the Incas have 2 days in the year, the most important days. June 21st, the festival of the sun, we call it Inti Raymi, the original date is not the 24th, and December 22nd, the festival of the Inca, or the most important days. Why? December 22nd, they start farming the fields. In June, they are harvesting the fields, and they had incredible solar clocks, like a sundials all over the Andes. Every site has a sundial, Ollantaytambo, or like a mountain where the sun comes out June 21st, December 22nd, the sun goes that way. And when the sun appears December 20th, they farm and they let the sun return and they harvest. So they had a complete, I don't know how to call it, system, but they had a complete way to be in symbiosis with Mother Nature, with the spirit. They're in symbiosis, like together, sisters. And I like the name of Waka, brother. And I think our place is not Ñaupa Iglesia, again. Yes, it is mixed. But I gotta tell you, all the names of the ancient places are not the original names. Not even Machu Picchu, not even Machu Picchu. Because Machu means old, Picchu means mountain. And what is that? Is the mountains that surrounds this place. So the ancient citadel, the crystal city, the female energy city, nobody owns the truth. Okay, we just want to be clear. Nobody owns the truth, but the most important, each of you, the travelers, will define what is the place, this place, according to their feelings, according to what they get out there. But Machu Picchu, for example, is not the original name. It is a powerful place, of course, but a little bit farther from Machu Picchu, there is a place is called Nuestra Hispana. Nuestra is the chosen women. Hispana is where they supposedly be P, P, like P. Is that correct word? Sorry.
Yep.
P.
Yep.
Flying fountains. There is a rock there. There is a rock in Nuestra Hispana or Bitcus in this site. Nuestra Hispana, there's a rock like weighs 500 or 1,000 tons. That in that stone, the carving is another proof that this place was not Inca, was more way ancient than we think about, and there is a prophecy that we talk about in the Andes. Is called the prophecy of Huiracocha. Huiracocha is the spiritual god of the Incas. Huira means fun, Cocha means lake or ocean, So why they call it that way? It's so big, so powerful that you cannot measure. It's the only way that they could measure it is say, this being that we don't see, that we can feel it, is bigger than the ocean, Mamacocha. And the Inca, the ancestors, they didn't, they saw the ocean, they said, wow, this is huge, no? And they wanted to call Huiracocha, to this powerful being. Texi Huiracocha Pachayachachi has a complex name that Huiracocha is the creator of everything. So we gotta we have to feel it, no? And if you go to Vilcabamba, that's one of the place, I think, your next trip or in the future. Vilcabamba is another incredible place. That's when you go back to the, the time is not going fast. That's the place where, has this energy, and there's a pyramid, and there's so many sites, here.
There's, Brien, and I know I'd love for you to chime in. There's so many sites, and it's amazing. Where can you still go to discover? So much left to discover. This place of Peru. Washi, you mentioned a ceremony that we're going to do, and I'm just going to share the screen for a second. This is the website lifephysician.com/events. This is the Sacral Chakra Retreat that we're speaking of in 2021, Lake Titicaca. This is being led by Dr. Amanda Chance, by Washi and Brian Foerster. It's a 17-day journey of shamanic initiation under the sun and the moon and the stars. Of course, there is all of the medicine that's available there, all of the food, all of that. So Brian and Washi, do you recommend that we be on a diet? I know I am already preparing my body because I want to carry my grandmother's eyes, my grandmother's lenses from the Indian shaman, 5,000-year-old, learning from there to the Andes, to what is available in this sacral chakra area. So I am already preparing my body for that journey, both at night and during the day. To me, this is the sacred work that we get to do together. It's such an incredible journey, opportunity, especially with the depth of love, compassion, wisdom, right brain, left brain, heart, and groundedness that you both carry, that we all get to stand, as I say, on the shoulders of. We get to see the next layer of perspective. How do you recommend the diet and being prepared for this journey? Brien or Washi. Brien, I'd love for you to share first, especially what Washi just said there, and then we'll send it to Washi.
Sorry about what?
So do you recommend a diet? Or, do you recommend a
Oh.
diet before coming to be with you on this journey?
Well, it really depends upon what the normal diet, of the individual person is. So I don't have any actual recommendations about what not to eat or what to eat, because some people are vegetarian, some people are vegan, some people are carnivores. I think the most important thing is just to take advantage of all of the wonderful natural food that Peru has to offer once you come here. As I was saying earlier, almost all the food that we have here on the coast is from the coast. And so it's all natural. We go to the market, local market every day to pick up fresh fruits and vegetables, incredibly inexpensive. And usually without pesticides, because as I was saying also earlier, most of the land holding here is small family farms. You don't have mega farms like you have in the US or other countries. The only example of huge farms are the sugarcane fields that are in the north of Peru. So you still have little family farms all over the place. And people don't tend to use pesticides and herbicides that much. As much as possible, people still farm the Inca way in terms of using natural fertilizer. Like in the highlands, you don't waste anything. So llama and alpaca droppings and things like that are used not only as a way to refertilize the land, but also when you dry it, you can use it as fuel to warm your house in the wintertime. So that's my major recommendation, is just take advantage of the fact that almost all the food in Peru is very natural and very local. The Sacred Valley and the local jungle nearby feeds Cusco, which is a population of almost 1 million people. And the coast of Peru is fed by all the farms that are from here to where I'm at, 3.5 hours south of Lima, up to Lima itself. And that, Lima's 10 million people. And you also have all the other jungle areas and other highland areas. The productivity of agricultural productivity in Peru is absolutely mind-boggling, and has been for a very, very long time. It's even said that the Inca, when they moved onto the coastal area here, they had these runners called chascas, I think. And the chasqui, that's right. Yes, chasca is a star. So they had chasquis, and they were marathon runners. So that's how Inca messages were delivered. They would run something like 5 kilometers and stop and hand their message to the next runner, who would then take it the next 5 kilometers. But it said that these runners were able to take fresh fish from the coast of Peru to Cusco within 48 or maybe even 24 hours, for the royal household. So
for the royal
that's
household,
my recommendation.
Washi, right? Anything that you want to add?
Yeah. Okay. I just want to note to recommendation to stop eating. Just have your normal life, but get more surrounded by. My recommendation would be get more surrounded by good people, good people before you come to Peru, so you get the energy. And when you come here, we want to see you smiling. We want to see you, with the best energy, and we want to see you like positive and ready, to live a new life, in the Andes, And when you go back home, you can expand that incredible energy and wisdom that you get here to your brothers and sisters. And in Peru, we have so many superfoods. You know, in terms of quinoa, we have hundreds of varieties of quinoa. You got to know Peru, 84 microclimates. As I was telling you, 84. There's the most diversity in the whole planet. You know, and because they built, as brother was saying, 25,000 miles of trails, more long distance trails than we have built roads made by machine today. You know, the ancient people were able to do that. So they will bring seeds from other places and introduce it and study, make laboratories, like for example, in Moray, you know, closer to Cusco, there are like close to 20 microclimates just in one place that they have created like a laboratory to plant seeds, you know, to study, you know, you know, they were so incredible, these ancient brothers and sisters. And by the way, because of that, we have about 360 sites, and all of them are like huge storage houses. One of them is Rakchi, like going towards Lake Titicaca from Cusco. Rakchi, for example, has more than 100 or 150 storage houses. They could store tons of food. And you gotta know, that's one of the things that the Spaniards, when they got here, they were very, very surprised about it, because the Incas, they had food, enough food to feed between 6 and 14 million people for the next 9 years, you know? So if something happened, like a war, or I don't know, the land stopped growing food, they could still live for the next 9 years. Some people refer to 90 years, 90 years. You know, it's just incredible. Look at, that's what, you know, brother is right about saying the invasion. You know, when they invade something, they kind of destroy a little bit, you know, their ways, you know, but the Incas were more about love. They were look at, the Incas could cut the stones, or their ancestors could cut the stones perfectly, like using lasers, but they were not interested in making weapons. The Incas did, or the Incas, they said they didn't have sophisticated weapons. No, because it wasn't important for them. They were more focused on the good, like they were doing down here. You know, like channelizing the rivers. You know, like building incredible sites like Sacsayhuaman and other places that are going to last for the next 10,000 years. And I will tell you that New York or Londres or Lima, 10,000 years from now, I promise there's not going to be any left if something happened. But Sacsayhuaman, these ancient places are going to still be here. You know, it's just incredible the way they see, you know, the future. They wanted to give us a lesson, I think, you know, lesson about why it's important not to make major changes in Pachamama, Mother Earth, but leave something for the children of our children, but something that is more in symbiosis with Pachamama or Mother Earth. Yeah, and I will just get surrounded by good people from now before you come, you know, with the best people you can in terms of energy and other things, what you're looking for. And when you come here, with the first thing we want to see is a big smile and ready to be part of this change, you know, happening in the world. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That big smile coming to and going from your heart, from my heart to your heart, and to everyone that's joined us today. We are coming to the end of our time together. Washi, Brien, everyone here, thank you, thank you, thank you. There are no words. We'll have to use that telepathic communication that Washi spoke about to convey the depth of gratitude and the depth of love from all of us that have witnessed and been part of this conversation. Thank you so much. I want to make sure that we get everyone, just to give you a word for the crew in Peru. We are miracle makers here. We are on and watching Washi, Brian Foerster, Dr. Amanda Chance, Ron Lakis, Gail, Darcy, Hellenique is right now in Cyprus. And for each of us, just to give a word, no matter when you joined, please add your energy to this. Please add your words. Again, you can find this trip to Peru at lifephysicians.com/events. You can find us here on Facebook or on YouTube. I so recommend finding Brian Foerster's channel and learning from the depth of wisdom. So many of us have traveled the earth in order to activate our purpose that's in our heart. So I want to give the word so beautifully today. My word to both of you and to Peru and to the collective here is compassion. You have awakened the next layer of compassion, compass, passion, purpose in my heart. Thank you so much. Dr. Amanda, anything that you want to share?
I always think continued love, love for self, love for others, so love for the planet, so threefold, just being a part of of family. I'm very appreciative of everyone's energy, all of the energy that I have put into this, all of the energy that we all will put into this, and not to take anything for granted.
Not to take anything for granted. And I love that Ron is right behind you. Ron, anything that you want to add to today?
Well, all I know is today's conversation that I seem to be popping in and out of overheated my computer. So we know that this is a very hot topic and an even hotter destination. But I do want people that are looking in on this is there are a lot of places in the world that you go to visit. I know that both Brien and Washi would be the first to say, for many people that come to Peru, they're returning, not just visiting, they're returning. And it's a deep centering current inside and recognition when you arrive. So give that some thought, because I do truly believe this is going to be an incredible adventure, and certainly with all that are involved in this. So there you go.
All that are involved in this. Darcy, is there anything that you want to add? I know, Brian, you're a big fan of Brian Foerster, and anything you want to add here?
Well, I feel very connected already. I've only traveled to Peru once, but I do feel that is true. You feel like you're going home. I felt that when I was there before. And I think that the feeling I'm having right now is just a really exponential feeling of possibility and potential. And like Jen Lee said earlier, it's kind of an unknown parts of us that are going to really come out. And I look forward to that.
So looking forward to that. Gail, is there anything that you want to add?
Deep gratitude to Amanda for inviting me, but very, very much gratitude for Washi and Brien for sharing your knowledge, your love, and I honor you both for what you're sharing. Sadly, I can't attend this event because I'm in the UK and there's no way we're going to be allowed out or allowed into any other country. But I definitely wish to, travel with Brien and Washi at some stage if that's ever possible. So thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Hellenique is coming to us from Cyprus, and she joined and stayed on. She said, oh my gosh, I want to hear this conversation. Thank you, Hellenique, for being with us. She represents Women of Truth Conference and leads retreats and women all around the world. It's so beautiful. Hellenique, anything you want to add to this?
Just bring the word elevation. That's what I'm feeling listening to you all. Thank you.
elevation, listening. Washi, anything you want to finish off today with, and then we'll go to Brien for the last words here.
I wanted to finish this beautiful gathering and just invite everyone to be together, you know, and with the word in the native language is called munakuiki. Munakuiki means I love you. Munakuiki.
Munakuiki. Woo! And Brien, we end it with you today. Thank you so much, everyone here, everyone watching. And Brien, anything you want to complete today's conversation with?
Well, I'm just so grateful that I was guided to come here. You know, I've been to 100 countries around the world for different reasons. And, you know, that little voice in my ear that said Peru and led me here. And then I would come, then I'd go back to Canada, then I'd come back, go back to Canada. Eventually I just bought a one-way ticket and had one carton of my possessions, and that was it. And I've been here ever since. Peru has been very gracious in providing me with abundance on every level. I can't think of another place I would ever possibly want to live anymore. So I'm grateful to this little loving, abundant country that has embraced me.
This country that's embraced you. And we are so looking forward as a group to embracing this Sacral Chakra Retreat 2021, Lake Titicaca. Thank you, Dr. Amanda Chance, for setting this up. And for every one of us, we are taking you, anyone who saw part of this, we're so grateful to carry any of your requests, simply reach out on that website and that location, send us any information that you want us to carry to Peru. And if you're being called, please reach out. We would love for your intentions, your vision, your possibilities, that sacral chakra creation, co-creation for humanity. All right, everyone, until next time, we will see you guys next Friday. Yay, same bat channel, same bat time. So much love. Bye for now.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Bye.
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 Bye.